The Galactic Academy of Universal Sciences had stood for 3,000 cycles, educating the brightest minds from across 700 species. In all that time, no one had ever attacked a professor, until the day Zrathkar decided Professor Mia Chen was disrespecting his people. Mia stood at the holographic display, her small human frame dwarfed by the towering Krinathi student, who now gripped her throat with his primary manipulation appendages. The lecture hall, filled with 200 alien students from dozens of worlds, fell into shocked silence. "You dare mock the Krinathi Empire?" Zrathkar bellowed, his translator struggling to convey his rage. "You show images of our ancestors as primitive. You will apologize or you will cease functioning." The Krinathi were apex predators from a high-gravity world, standing nearly 9 feet tall with chitinous armor and 4 powerful arms. Zrathkar's grip tightened around Mia's neck, his claws pressing against her soft skin. In his mind, this was already over. Humans were weak, fragile things, barely worthy of being called sentient. Their homeworld was a gentle paradise with low gravity and abundant resources. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. They were prey animals who had somehow stumbled into space travel. What Zrathkar didn't know, what none of the galaxy truly understood about humans, was what made them the most terrifying species ever to leave their homeworld. Mia's face was turning red, but her eyes remained calm, almost cold. She reached up slowly, placing her small hands over Zrathkar's massive appendages. The other students watched in horror, expecting to see their professor's neck snap at any moment. "Let me," Mia whispered, her voice barely audible despite the choking, "teach you about human biology." What happened next would be discussed in xenobiology classes for generations. Mia's body didn't shut down from oxygen deprivation. Instead, something ancient and primal activated in her brain. While most species would lose consciousness within 30 seconds of oxygen restriction, humans had evolved a terrifying backup system. Her body immediately redirected blood flow, keeping her brain functional for minutes instead of seconds. Her vision narrowed, but her muscles remained strong. More importantly, her adrenal glands dumped a cocktail of chemicals into her bloodstream that turned the small professor into something her ancestors would have recognized: a cornered predator. Mia's fingers found the pressure points on Zrathkar's primary arms. Despite his armor, every species had vulnerable joints. She pressed hard. Her human hands evolved to grip and manipulate with precision that few species could match. Zrathkar felt something he'd never experienced before: pain that made his appendages spasm involuntarily. His grip loosened for just a fraction of a second. That was all Mia needed. She twisted her body with a technique thousands of years old, breaking his hold completely. As Zrathkar stumbled back in surprise, Mia dropped low and swept his legs. The 9-foot Krinathi hit the ground hard, his chitinous armor cracking against the metal floor. Before he could recover, Mia was on him. Her knee pressed into his thorax, right where his primary breathing spiracle was located. Her hand gripped one of his antennae, pulling his head back at an angle that made his spine creak. "Lesson 1, Mia said, her voice steady despite the red marks on her neck. "Humans evolved on a death world. While you were becoming apex predators on a planet with stable weather and predictable prey, we were surviving ice ages, megapredators, diseases, and each other." Zrathkar tried to throw her off, but she shifted her weight with practiced ease. His 4 arms flailed uselessly. "Lesson 2, Mia continued, "we don't have natural weapons, so we invented them. But more than that, we made our entire bodies into weapons. What I'm using on you right now, we call it jujitsu. It's one of hundreds of combat systems we developed over millennia of warfare." A security team burst into the lecture hall, but Mia's teaching assistant, Leo Martinez, held up his hand to stop them. Leo had served in the Human Defense Forces before becoming an academic. He knew what the galaxy was about to learn. "Lesson 3, Mia's voice dropped lower. "Humans have something you need to understand. We call it persistence. We are endurance predators. On Earth, we hunted animals by chasing them until they died from exhaustion. We don't give up. We don't stop. Push us to the edge and we just keep going." Zrathkar's eyes widened as he finally understood his mistake. This wasn't a weak prey species. This was something far more dangerous. A species that looked harmless but had climbed to the top of one of the galaxy's most hostile food chains through sheer, terrifying stubbornness. Mia released him and stood up, breathing hard but steady. "Lesson 4, and this is the most important one. I wasn't showing your ancestors as primitive to mock them. I was showing them as successful. They thrived in conditions that would kill most modern species. That's not an insult, Mr. Zrathkar. That's respect. She extended her hand to help him up. After a moment's hesitation, Zrathkar took it. Your people are strong, Mia said quietly. But strength isn't just about size or armor. It's about adaptation, resilience, and the will to survive. Humans learned that the hard way. I thought the Krinathi had learned it too. The lecture hall remained silent as Zrathkar stood, his posture no longer aggressive but thoughtful. The red marks on Mia's neck were already beginning to bruise, but she acted as if nothing had happened. Now, she said, turning back to her class, let's continue discussing the evolutionary pressures that shaped apex species across the galaxy. And Mr. Zrathkar, I expect your essay on human persistence hunting by next cycle. I think you'll find it enlightening. As the class slowly resumed, Leo approached with a medical kit. You okay, Professor? Mia touched her neck gingerly and smiled. I've had worse sparring injuries. Besides, I think everyone just learned more about human biology in 5 minutes than they would have in a semester of lectures. Word of the incident spread across the Galactic Academy within hours. By the next day, enrollment in Professor Chen's xenobiology course had tripled. Students from warrior species, prey species, and everything in between wanted to understand the small, soft creatures who had somehow become one of the most respected species in the galaxy. Zrathkar attended every lecture after that, sitting in the front row taking meticulous notes. He never challenged Professor Chen again. Instead, he became one of her most dedicated students, eventually writing his thesis on why humans were the perfect example of how intelligence and adaptability could overcome any physical limitation. The galaxy had learned an important lesson that day. Never mistake human kindness for human weakness. They were not the same thing, not even close. And choking a human, that was just giving them time to decide exactly how they wanted to teach you why that was a mistake.